Don't forget to push that like button as it does help out the channel. And if you are new here, hit the subscribe button and enable all notifications so you don't miss a single video. And I thank you for 7 years of support. Frieza has emerged from the dimension of time with Black Frieza, a new transformation revealed in the recent Dragon Ball Super chapter. The talk nowadays among many in the fandom is, did Frieza have a sparring partner? Did he have a training partner? We know from Dragon Ball Z and when the Room of Spirit and Time, aka the Time Chamber, was introduced, that it's usually best to go in there with a training partner to make yourself stronger. Did Frieza have a training partner, and if so, was it Cooler? A lot of folks seem to think that because there's a lot of emphasis nowadays on Cooler, including the recent Dokkan anniversary event that highlighted Cooler, that maybe Cooler is on his way to being rewritten, rebooted into the Dragon Ball Super story, sort of like what they did with Broly. And I know a lot of folks initially had thought, I even did a video on it, there was a possibility of Cooler coming into the next Dragon Ball movie after Broly, which wound up being Superhero. Wasn't really Cooler in that, but many of us thought it could be him based on Frieza's tease. Well, now, with the Cooler event and with Black Frieza being in the chamber for that long, is Cooler his training partner? And if so, where'd he come from? What's going on? We're talking about all of that and more here today on this video. Joining me on this video, I know him as Critical, but he goes by Digital Overlord. You've heard him before on the Geekdom 101 streams when we discuss the manga and stuff like that. He has a channel here on YouTube where he talks about all anime, not just Dragon Ball, but Berserk, My Hero, stuff like that. What's up, Digital Overlord? Welcome.
Hey, what's good, Geekdom? How you doing?
I'm good, man. So, Cooler. This guy, people seem to think, may have been Frieza's new secret weapon that we don't know about, maybe train with him in the Room of Spirit and Time. So, if they were to bring Cooler back, reboot him, so to speak, it'd be a different Cooler, rewritten by Toriyama and Toyotaro. How do you think they could bring him back? Could it be that he's now from Universe 6? Could it be that he was some lost and forgotten character trapped in a dimension, or somebody who Frieza never bothered to mention? Like, where do you see that they could go with this sort of reboot of Cooler if they choose to do it?
Well, I think what they could do is have it from Universe 6, and instead of like having it be Frieza's brother, it would be like somebody different where he actually like trains with Cooler and everything like that. Because like mostly in the movies, like it's basically how you see like Frieza is like Cooler's brother,
right?
And like how they could do this is like maybe a little like different, and like have him in that other like different universe, which would be really interesting to actually see.
Yeah, we've got Frost that was sort of Universe 6's counterpart to Frieza, but one thing that we never really found out, because it was never explained, is if Frieza's race obviously exists in Universe 7, are there other members of Frieza's race in Universe 6? Maybe Cooler could be Frieza's dad, sort of like, Frost's dad, like how King Cold was. Now, when it comes to the character of Cooler, a lot of people like the way he was written in the old DBZ movies. He was a little bit more serious, very prideful guy for his family, which is why he went after Goku for revenge. So, at this point, I feel like if Cooler was Frieza's training partner, they're going to have to reveal him at some point. And I do genuinely wonder if they're sort of slowly building up a possible Cooler versus Broly fight, because Broly was, of course, the first character that Toriyama had rebooted from the movies, and now we have Cooler, who could also be rebooted. He might look different, he might not. I mean, we don't know, but how do you think they could go about using Cooler effectively? Like, if you were writing the story, how would you make him? Would you save him for later? Would you have him work with Frieza? Would you have him and Frieza fuse? Don't forget that Frieza has seen fusion. He saw what Goku and Vegeta did to become Gogeta in the Dragon Ball Super anime. He didn't see the pose, but he saw them as Gogeta. He can always as Zuno. In the Dragon Ball Super anime, he saw Gotenks become fuse in front of him, but that was only in the anime, which Toriyama did not write. That was Toei adding that. Then, of course, we have Cooler seeing the Potara fusion of Kefla in the anime, and that could also have been from Toriyama. We really don't know, because Kale wasn't really Toriyama's original vision. But anyways, that's besides the point. I digress. So, how do you think they should, like, sort of introduce Cooler, and what do you think he can do as being Frieza's partner.
I think what they could actually show them actually working together, because we actually really never got that with like Frieza and Cooler. Like they showed like basically like flashbacks and everything of how like where Cooler would always say like father would always spoil him.
Right, yeah,
And
that
like I
was
think it would be interesting.
in the dub, but yeah, Cooler,
Yeah.
we never saw them like together, except maybe like in GT, but that's a whole separate thing. But go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So if that does happen, I'm on board for that, and I would like to see maybe a new transformation for Cooler. I think that would be really cool because Cooler's a really awesome character, and he's very popular.
Right, I would say that he's, I don't think he's quite at the level of Broly, because Broly's just
No, he's
yeah, and I think actually, if I were to think about it, I would say the number two most popular movie character behind Broly is either Turles, Cooler, or Janemba. And the more I think about it, the more it probably is Cooler, because every villain in Dragon Ball gets one movie, except Broly got three and Cooler, well, four if you count Super Broly.
four, yeah.
Yeah, and then Cooler got two. So that might make us think that. Now, power wise, we obviously don't know. I mean, we obviously have no idea how strong he would be, but they would have to do what they did with Broly and scale him up to Dragon Ball Super standards. Should he keep the fifth form that we saw in the movie, or get something totally different? And what about Metal Cooler? Could that be something for the future? What do you think about that?
To honestly tell the truth, I would like to have them keep that same form and Metal Cooler. But if they decide to change that form, I would be on board with it. I would have no problem with it because it's something like brand new that they're adding to the franchise. So I think it would be interesting to see.
Right. Well, I was thinking too, like, and this is just me kind of thinking out loud, that with Gamma 1 and 2 being introduced in Superhero, and the fact that Dr. Hito has, a brilliant mind, even more so than his grandfather who created the original androids, I was thinking that at some point, and this is just me coming up with an idea just out of nowhere, basically, just out of the back of my head, maybe at some point, Cooler investigates what's going on with what happened in Superhero, and maybe he can steal some of Dr. Heto's technology to eventually make Metal Cooler. So instead of doing like the big Getty star and having Goku blast Cooler into the sun, you could do something else where he sort of loses to Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. This is just, again, fan fiction at this point. He loses to them, and then he decides, okay, I gotta have a strategic edge. And then he doesn't get killed, he escapes, like Frieza always does. They're slimy, and then maybe he can create sort of a Metal Cooler clone, like what he did in the movie. Because if you watch the second Cooler movie, the main Cooler was the one in the big Getty star, the big cable-looking Cooler. And then you have, of course, the Metal Coolers, which is the 1 billion or so Power Warriors, the ones that Goku and Vegeta fought, who can regenerate. So if he takes that tech from Dr. Hito, that would be one way to reboot Metal Cooler and regular Cooler. So that could work. Now, I saw an Instagram post of Black Frieza. It was like artwork. It was Black Frieza fighting Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, and it was like Broly in his green form, his legendary form, or whatever you want to call it. Goku and UI, and Vegeta and UE. And I feel like those three on Frieza, I think Frieza would probably still win because of how strong he was at the end of Chapter 87. But with Cooler there, I feel like that might tip the scales a bit. So I feel like that could be a way for them to kind of write Gohan and Piccolo back in now that they have new forms. And it is what it is. I mean, obviously, if Cooler comes back, okay, would you like to see Cooler get a form, not like his fifth form, but something like what they did with Frieza, where he's got Golden Frieza, Black Frieza, like an evolution of his final form? Not really a new transformation, but like an evolution where he looks the same, but his color changes, kind of figuring out what Frieza did. And could that have already happened when they were trained together?
That possibly could, and I would like to actually see that. That would be exciting to actually read about, because like I said before, like Cooler to me is a popular character like in the franchise. He's not like popular than Broly, but he is like the second like villain best of how I'm seeing it, and I would like to actually see that for him happen. And I also would be interesting to see like Broly have that new transformation but like battle like Cooler in his new transformation.
No, right. Yeah, I agree with you because one thing people have to remember about Cooler is that he's big. He's not when he goes into
Yep.
his fifth form, the Super Shredder form. He is a giant of a monster. Like he's about as big as Broly when he gets all buff, maybe even bigger. So if these two went at it, bro, it would just be this roided, freaking insane fight. Like if they do this, bro, like one thing that I'm getting sick of in Dragon Ball, and I criticized Superhero for this when Cell Mac blew up, is that Cell Max is that you've got
Yep.
these characters now that are beyond universe level, dude. These guys need to be fighting in space and having like quasars get blown up. Like these characters are so strong now, and if Cooler and Broly do fight, I don't understand how there could be a plan to contain them. Like it's just it's wild to me because they're just so big and just giant tanks that could take hits, And I think the most marketable idea for Dragon Ball would be to bring Cooler back, have Toriyama reboot him, and then off to the races we go. So ultimately, is this something you would like to see, or do you think that somebody else could be Frieza's training partner? What do you think? Like, if you were the one in charge, would you actually reboot Cooler, or would it be someone else that we don't know about yet? Or I've heard even Frieza's son.
To be perfectly honest, yeah, I would want to reboot Cooler because I think we could actually do a way better story than before the past, and it could be like very interesting to actually like read or to watch. However they decide to do it, if they decide to do it in manga, or basically have them in the new movie that's going to be coming out pretty soon, whenever they decide to make it.
Right, it's a while from now, but you're right. They could save him for a movie because it's a pretty big character to reboot. So I want to know in the comments. I want everybody to leave us your thoughts on, is Cooler coming based on the Dokkan event and how they've been slowly kind of teasing more Cooler? Is that what they're giving us, or are we just overthinking this? And that's question one. Question two is, if you think Cooler is coming, of course, be sure to tell us what you would do with the character, how you would kind of change him to update him for modern times. And of course, don't forget, check out Digital Overlord. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Thanks again. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.